Hey guys, been talking to some other people about this. This is just got back from the gym, making all kinds of gains, and had a phone conversation with a brother, and we were just talking about some things that I actually read last night. I did want to talk about. Um, the first thing I want to talk about is, and people probably tired of hearing about it, but I just want to try and reel this conversation back in some way. Is my views of anti-Semitism in preterism. Okay, that is different than what seems to be going on. And first of all, if people are taking my arguments of anti-Semitism and applying them on a personal level to someone in preterism, I apologize for that. Number one, and number two, that is not what my argument is about, and I'm being sorely misrepresented. On the other side of the fence, it seems, and that's what's coming back to me, is I'm getting lumped in with these people who are acting in inappropriate ways. So I make no bones about that. My argument of anti-Semitism, I stand by that, okay, because it's not a um, singular targeting device against people. And I don't know if this was directed at me. I don't know where these conversations are going, but I've never deleted comments about this subject. I deleted comments from a guy named something Velocity, and this was almost like a year, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, because of profanity that was being used in the thread. Words like a hole and stuff like that. That was deleted. But as far as comments between what people have referenced as the Unitarian community, I have not deleted any comments, so they're there for everyone to see. But I think what is being done here is that I'm being lumped in with these other people. Now, I read a comment yesterday, and I'm going to read it so I can make a statement about this, because this does not reflect my position on anti-Semitism at all. Um, you know, but let me deal with the comment first, and then I'll go on to some other things. This comment, apparently, this was said to Willie T. Okay, apparently this was said, because this is coming from his own comments in quotations. Basically, at some point, someone told him, and I was unaware of this comment. Let me be clear about that, because my emotions on this comment today would have been the same emotions I had back then. Quote unquote, "You're a total heretic, mate. You're a minion of the lake of fire. Keep spewing your lies, which Satan is feeding you. You've got a terrible personality, and you're most likely an anti-Semite." Okay, I do not condone comments like that. I do not support people like that, and I think you I don't talk about judgment. Okay, what God views as a heretic and all these other things, that's God's business. And this person here, it does not associate with me. Apparently, I do not know anything about him, but I will say on the other side of the token that taking that comment and dressing me in that label, or people like me, and then using that as a reason to dismiss the discussion of anti-Semitism, I do believe is juvenile and fact dodging. Okay, my argument against anti-Semitism is this: a lot of people don't understand. Let's put preterism aside as far as a biblical truth or untruth. When it was born, what did it accomplish? And this is what I mean when I talk about anti-Semitism. It gave the Roman Catholic Church a pass, because the view that it went up against was exactly that, is that the Roman Catholic Church was this thing, this abomination in the book of Revelation. That's what it was. So that's where my arguments of anti-Semitism spin from. They spin from this idea that, and that's why that video was called the Gambit. That anti-Semite video. The reason it was called the Gambit is because it is a thing people do in chess, for example. They'll sacrifice something to make a gain on the other side. And I think that's what the doctrine did. It sacrificed the Jewish promises, and it was to gain the church on the other side. But as far as people personally doing, I mean, you look at the translational problems, the history. We're all stumbling through this, and I don't think it does help to personally attack people in that manner. Now, I will be firm with people. I will strongly disagree with people. I will question not their motives. I don't question David McMurdo. I don't question Willie T. Um, I don't question their motives, and that has never entered my mind. I will question the way they think. You know, if I think they're just off the reservation, I'm going to say so. But I'm not going to sit here and condone or make statements myself about their personal, you know, hating Jews. I don't think any of them hated Jew. But I do think it is not right and not fair to take those comments and then post that up as a flag and say, well, look, anytime somebody brings up anti-Semitism, it's automatically dismissed because of these loose cannon type people that have nothing to do with me. They're not associated with anybody that I know personally. The people that I've communicated with about this have all been very cordial but very firm, and none of us should have a problem with that. Okay, so it's a legitimate thing to talk about because it is at the root of the doctrine. Who gained from it? The Roman Catholic Church. I do believe replacement theology, for lack of a better word, is evil. I don't care what form that it comes in. And I think preterism is a form of replacement theology. However, I will say, just like with Trinitarians, there are many Trinitarians who I think are really good people. And I don't question their motives. And I have no reason to. But when looking back at the church fathers, I think there may be reason to question some of their motives because these people were violent. Okay, if you're willing to condone the killing of a man, which a lot of them did, I have to question your motives. I can understand, you know, we're not talking about a country invading another country. I'm not putting something so stupid as that. But I'm saying if they come to your door and they ask you what you believe and they're willing to kill you behind your answer, yeah, I have a problem with you. And I probably would call you a vile person. But these brothers that are preterists, let me be clear, I don't question their motives. And I don't think anyone else should. I don't think it has a place in this discussion. And it's just not, you know what I mean? And like I said, I don't want to be put in that group either. And I don't think that's right or fair. So at the same time, I still will be firm. I don't think it was right to label me within that group and use me as kind of the poster boy. You know, the questions of anti-Semitism are legitimate when talking about the Trinity. And everyone in this conversation agreed with that at that time. And I think it's just as legitimate now because I'm going to ask a lot. It's like detective work. Follow the money. Well, who got the payoff from this doctrine of preterism? Put aside the fact if it's true, because it is two separate issues. I never presented it as the same issue, but it plays a role. And to totally dismiss the role altogether and to run anytime the word anti-Semite is brought up is not, it's not honest. It's just not honest. You know, remember, Roman Catholicism got a pass with the doctrine of preterism. Let's see, is there anything else besides, like I said, saying that I don't condone comments like this, and I was completely unaware of a comment like that being made, okay? And this is not something that falls on one side of the fence. The multitude of preterist comments left on my page basically just question my intelligence. And you know, tactically calling someone stupid works on someone who is stupid. And I'm not stupid. So I don't want this portrayed either that futurists are X and futurists, no, preterists got their own share of problems. And like I said, the condescending comments that I've gotten from them. But, you know, I'm not going to refuse to speak to people and anything because I've been insulted by particular preterists, okay? And, you know, yes, I've encountered several preterist comments, and that Velocity guy, being one of them, was a preterist Calvinist, full preterist Calvinist. And he just used straight up profanity, okay? Just, he was going to kick my A and all. Yeah, it got really out of hand. And I don't know, you know, how to settle this in a way that is cordial or anything else. And like I said, I don't think my arguments have even come close to being approached and dealt with. But I would leave that as the final message of all this, and that is nobody's got any business saying anything like that. And I do not condone anything like that. And if it was in my comment thread and I didn't catch it somehow, I would have dealt with it. But I don't think it came in my comment thread, and I don't think it came from anyone I know. The mere fact that the word mate is in the comment, I don't really know any British people. And I think, what they have to understand, in all fairness, is the way that they've handled this by just trotting out the comment with no context. Um, like the Neville guy, he contacted me in a message saying that he didn't know what's going on and don't understand. And so I think people are getting the impression that somehow I'm involved in this kind of language, and it's because they are being vague. They're not addressing the person that actually made the comment. They're addressing futurists in general. As you know, and as far as modern Israel goes, no, modern Israel does not get a pass on anything. My view of modern Israel is that if the ingathering is coming or it's begun, and like I said, I am not one of those people that ever talks about we're in the end days. I mean, every generation's in the last days from Genesis onward, if you stop to think about it. So I'm not applying any particular amount of time to this. But Israel will have to be there if there is going to be an ingathering. And the way I look at that is that has nothing to do with what I call Zionist Jews. Zionist Jews are supremacists, and they they have a very apocalyptic view of the rest of the world. And I do not agree with those people, and I in no way give Israel a pass. Will it fight to defend itself? Yeah, it's a nation. That's what nations do. Um, you know, and as far as the Palestinian thing and all that, I have multiple views on that situation that I'm not going to articulate here because I don't want people to get hung up on any particular phrase that I might use. But no, killing people is never good. Okay, it's not, and it's not something that let me just say that. Do I agree with blowing up families on either side of the fence? No, I don't. Does the country have a right to defend itself? Yes, I do believe that. And like I said, Israel, if my take on a idealist futurism type belief is true, Israel does have to be there if there's going to be an ingathering. And it's so, but modern Israel does not get a pass in any act of barbarism that it may or may not have participated in. And I don't want to overly speak on that whole thing. Um, but I will say no, no one gets a pass for killing people in those kind of contexts. So I hope this clears up some things, at least from my perspective. You know, I don't want my arguments of anti-Semitism, which I think are well articulated and very pointed at specific subjects, to be bled over into people making individual comments, calling people anti-Semites, telling them that they're going to go to hell. That's not my style. I don't condone anything like that. I don't even say that about Trinitarians. I won't even tell a Trinitarian you're going to hell or anything like that because, one, first of all, for anyone to make a statement like that is absurd. It is not my place or your place. God's judgment is his judgment. And my beef with preterism um, shall not cross into those waters and start making judgment calls on people's character. And let me be clear once again, when it comes to I'm apparently the lone video making proponent on some kind of futurism view. And in this little community, they are the two main people putting forth that view. I in no way question their legitimacy as people or it's just not my style. I will question how they think, and we have to be able to deal with this kind of things. If I think you're wrong and you got a nutty position, I'll say so. But to question someone on that fundamental level of being honest or true or anything else is uncalled for, unproductive, and unbiblical. So I definitely, and I do understand if someone wants to say, well, whether it's me or it's them, that our differences are so great that we can no longer extend the hand of fellowship to each other. I perfectly understand that and I get it. And so, but I don't condone it. Let me be clear about that. And I will say this: if anybody that's a preterist, with the exception of there's a few people I won't talk to because they are insulting, every time you engage with them. But as far as those two particular guys go, I watched them grow. I watched them go through things, just like when I started watching Brother Kell and started reading Buzzard's work and stuff, and people have watched me grow and I've watched them grow, and it's a fascinating thing, and I'm glad that they've gone so deep into the scriptures, and I harbor no ill feeling towards them as people. I do think in one respect this thing has gotten so out of hand, but we can't go around demonizing people for what other people have said. Okay, I do not, to be clear, once again, I do not condone that kind of language and commenting on people, especially, like I said, people like that. I've interacted with them for a while now, and they were pleasant people, and I still think they're pleasant people, but I think, and they've become a little bit overly defensive about certain things, and I think we all need to be grown up enough to address these topics, including anti-Semitism. It has its place in this discussion, but it is not the sole arbiter of what is true or not. And I don't relate the two together. I don't say preterism has to be false because of anti-Semitism, but I do believe it's an element of the doctrine, even coming into existence in the first place. I have a hard time believing that if the Roman Catholic Church was not under such siege from the Protestant Reformation, I do have to legitimately question if preterism even would have been invented. So those are legitimate questions. And the church fathers and all this, I have a bunch of legitimate questions that should not be dismissed because of what other people say. So, like I said, and if they think that I feel this way about them, or like I said, I don't like preterism. I'll make no bones about that. And I'm not going to give it any quarter as far as, what I think about it. But as far as those people that are propounding this idea, um, I harbor no ill will towards either of them. And I don't sit here and think about them as heretics and think they're going to hell or anything else. And I definitely do apologize if they think that's how I feel about it, because it's far from the truth. Do I think they're nuts? Yeah, because we have a doctrinal dispute between us. But at the same time, the personal aspect doesn't enter into it. And I'm sad and I'm sorry that it's gone this way and gotten so out of hand for so many people. But to be clear, once more, I do not condone anyone individually targeting a person and making those kinds of statements. And I understand, I've had people come on my page in preterists that have just irritated me by the way they talked, and I've handled them harshly. I won't deny that. I don't appreciate being called ignorant and stupid in veiled terms, because it happens. And yeah, I will put the snap on somebody eventually when I think, for me, it comes down to dealing with the argument. If you don't deal with my arguments and you keep telling me you're just right, yeah, I'm going to pop eventually. And I'm going to say, there is no reason for us to talk. But do I sit there and I think about anything like that? No, I don't. So um, I hope that clears up my end of it anyway. I don't hate nobody. I don't harbor any ill will towards anybody. And that's that. God bless.